Nick, allow me to begin with you. I'm just looking at the best performer for the first 3 months of the year, and it being Lonmin, that share price up almost 78%. I'd like to find out from you exactly why Lonmin found so much favor in the first quarter.
Yeah, good news for the dyed-in-the-wool value investors who've been holding platinum for a long time and taking a lot of pain for it. So, yeah, what we've actually seen is all of the platinum stocks have continued their strong run. Actually, more because of the increase in palladium than the increase in platinum. So they do mine a lot of palladium as well. So that's driven up Amplats, Implats, Lonmin. So Lonmin and Implats, we saw the biggest rise. Quite frankly, they're slightly more marginal producers. They were under more pressure. They got slightly weaker balance sheets. So there was a lot more negativity priced in. So when the good news came, they did really, really well. Of course, if the news had been poor, they would have probably done a lot worse, which is why you saw the more stable Amplats still on a strong run, but not quite as well as an Implats and a Lonmin. So
all right. So this drive for palladium, this is all linked to ramping up in the innovation technology space, the fourth industrial revolution. I mean, what's buoying palladium?
It's basic supply and demand. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, the global economies are growing, and there's a real use for palladium, and supply and demand dynamics are such that supply has been quite strong vis-a-vis global growth, technologies, etc., and that's been very positive for palladium.
And we've also seen that, so Russia is the other major producer. South Africa and Russia are pretty much the only producers in Zimbabwe. And there has been some talk about Russia constricting some of their supply. So the investment thesis behind platinum and palladium has always been very concentrated supply. So unlike a lot of the other commodities where you can get it anywhere, supply of platinum is relatively concentrated. So if you do get a bit of a supply squeeze or a big amount of demand, you can't, the market can't turn very quickly, and that causes a pop in the
yeah,
price.
for sure. I mean, how much of the overperformance of Lonmin, if I can put it that way, in this first quarter, is a result of the pending merger with Sibanye-Stillwater? In fact, quite prudent that we're talking about the two accounters, because I do understand that at the Competition Commission right now, in fact today, trying to find out how the South African regulators will view that deal. So how much of this share price activity is as a result of investors giving the thumbs up to Sibanye-Stillwater taking over Lonmin? Richard?
Well, I mean, certainly the bid is underpinning the price, and without question, it has had the weakest balance sheet. They've had lots of structural issues, lots of issues from a production perspective, and certainly the impending deal and the transaction that has been on the table for a while is very much the underpin of the share price, and it's been done at a fair reflection of what shareholders are likely to accept.
For you, Nick? Yeah, and I think just looking at the overall context, the negativity towards, there's a reason why it's being taken over, it's under pressure, there's not a lot of buyers out there. So across the platinum space, I think all of that negativity means that if you do get some good news like we're getting with palladium, the share price really is going to rally strongly.
All right, so if you're looking at that good news around the palladium market, should you or would you continue to put your money in these platinum palladium plays, your Lonmin, Impalas, Sibanye, Kumba, Northern, Anglo-American Platinum into Q2 or for the rest of the year?
Well, I mean, they're coming off a pretty low base, and as Nick mentioned, it's all a function of a very restrictive supply and demand market, with demand going up, with industrial production globally looking strong. And Russia impending their supply or constraining their supply. Certainly, it looks like a commodity under current GDP global growth scenarios is likely to continue its positive trend. And then it's all a function of the cost of production. So Eskom is another big factor there. What's going to happen with the unions in terms of wage negotiations, and all the other factors associated with doing business in South Africa.
And Nick, I mean, before we move to the losers, would you be buying in this space?
Yeah, we've held the platinums for a while after they came off significantly. So we have light, and Amplats, for example, is up probably 3 times in the last 2 or 3 years.
Sure.
And the negativity that there was, which pushed those share prices down, hasn't gone away. But the pricing dynamics obviously not quite as attractive as it was. But still, these are good businesses, and they're still a robust thesis behind platinum. But obviously, with the rally in the share prices, not as exciting as it probably was a year or two ago.
Yeah, I mean, talking about a company that is sort of in the right space, as you know, we continue to talk about, you know, the fourth industrial revolution and ramping up your technology offerings and all of that. But unfortunately, because of other noises, is at the bottom of the performers when it comes to the JSE. EOH, that share price down 65% or 66% to be exact. Surprised?
I mean, more importantly, I think it's just like, let's take a step back, and it sounds like a bit of a Dickens book here, the best of times, the worst of times. Certainly, a number of the counters on the JSE, and we talk about the best rally on the JSE since 2007. It's a bit of a misnomer, really, because you've got a number of companies out there that are driven by international prices, vis-a-vis the fact that they're actually companies that are dual listed and only really listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange as some accident in history. So these companies have rebounded quite strongly, but when we have a look at SA Inc., there's a number of factors that are incredibly negative there, and one of them has been a number of corporate scandals associated with corruption and fraud. And certainly EOH has been, hasn't got away with that with flying colours, and there are all sorts of allegations with regards to the Microsoft signing up of clients and their ability to distribute that. So, I mean, EOH did phenomenally well. 2015, kind of the height of South African mid-market share price was at 160 Rand, and it's now at 9 Rand. It's very much a function that destroyed a huge amount of value vis-a-vis the fact that there is this smoke associated with all sorts of corruption associated with all the government tenders. So, I mean, surprising, how do you price something like that? If there are people that have done things illegal, in normal countries they'd go to jail. So, that's kind of what EOH is facing, and certainly it's going to take a long time to really uncover whether any of those contracts that they engaged with government were done under fair business principles, or whether there was a huge amount of corruption involved, which certainly everybody suspects, and the share price.
I mean, quite similar to what we're seeing with Steinhoff. There again is going to take quite a lot of time. Although Steinhoff, I see that share price up 10% in the first quarter. But Nick, your thoughts on EOH, and also your thoughts on this, what Richard has just said about how governance is increasingly becoming important in the way that these shares are valued. Because I'm looking at the second worst performer being Tongaat Hewlett, and of course we have heard the latest scandal there around the company's financials for around the past 10 years or so.
Yeah, EOH, not surprising that the danger was always with EOH. The way that this business was constructed was share price increasing, using the shares to buy new companies, which boosted earnings, which classic kind of roll up. And as long as you're buying good companies and you're making good money, that's fine. The danger is always, if things start turning south, whether it be corruption or weak business outcomes, things could turn really, really south, which has obviously happened. You chat to some people in the industry, they've got some great businesses under there. But when you've got this corruption cloud, and we've had businesses like Steinhoff, everyone does run a mile, and understandably so. It's tough to put a price on that. And we've seen the same with Tongaat. Add to that the negativity of SA Inc. I mean, if you look at our market, yes, very positive. It was the best first quarter we've had in a decade. But that was the same across the world. The US was up double digits, emerging markets were up double digits, China was up 25%. So actually, in dollar terms and even in rand terms, our market is actually a laggard. And the only reason that we even got any strong performance was, yes, the platinums and those companies, but Naspers, Chinese emerging markets sentiment, and some of the big resource companies and various other businesses. So yes, SA Inc. has been under pressure, but therein lies the opportunity. For the first time in a long time, you really are seeing quite a lot of value on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, which is quite exciting to see.
Nick, unfortunately, we are out of time. I mean, I could continue to go on, but I suppose a follow-up conversation for another day. Nick and Richard, thanks so much for your time. Of course, I was in conversation with Richard Bottger, Portfolio Manager, Tower Capital Management, and Nick Norman-Smith, Chief Investment Officer at Lentus Asset Management.